long. So let's waste no time. Let's get into the first topic, and that is the top tight end targets on the market. Again, I am not saying, just like linebacker, I'm not saying this is a top priority for the Green Bay Packers. Please don't misunderstand me here, gang. I'm not saying the Packers should go out and spend a ton of money on a tight end. I'm simply saying there is room on the roster for you to go get a cheap free agent tight end and or add a potential draft pick if the board falls just right. And Emilio, there's several prospects. I'm excited about that segment when we get into it. There are several prospects that really come to mind when you're like, man, if we're picking in the fourth round here and this guy were to fall, I'd be on board with taking him. So how do you feel about the tight end position on the surface before we dive into the top targets here, man?
Yeah, we know that Truck drinks that working man's Gatorade, right? We lost him. And honestly, looking at some of those sound bites from the past year and stuff, him in the huddle, like the way he can gather everyone's attention, the leadership that he has for being so young, when you lost that spark, I can see, why you lost a little bit of momentum on offense, as the year sort of went on. So you get your heartbeat back with Tuck. And then, I like where Musgrave was going. I think that he's gotten better. I would like to give Musgrave another year. Let's, give him one more shot here, see if Matt can't work him in. And then if it's not going to be the case, then all right, fine, we move on. But you asked a lot of, some would say not known tight ends. You got Wiley, you got FitzPatrick, you got all these guys in here just to make it happen, and still you're losing them. So I think that it is something that we're going to need to take an eye on this offseason for sure.
Absolutely. Chris asked a great question here too. Chris Ann says, can the Packers afford to draft a tight end seriously with the needs at O-line, D-line, and cornerback, and maybe linebacker, and maybe running back? And what about halfback/fullback? Here's the way I answer that question, Chris. If your scouting department told you when you're picking at whatever it is, 84, wherever it is, in the third round, hey, we got Tucker Kraft sitting here, boys. You want to go get him? I think we're running the cards. Right? So, again, you don't want to draft by need. You hope the board falls into place. Now, if you've got a Tucker Kraft sitting there, and then let's say you've got a Zach Tom sitting there, obviously you're going to pick Zach Tom over Tucker because it's a bigger need. But if you got a guy that your scouting department is telling you in the draft room, this dude right here, he can play just as good, if not better, than Tucker Kraft opposite him in 12 personnel, that's how I would answer that question. That's what we're saying when we're talking tight end. Now, it's kind of the similar approach with free agency as well. So here are the top targets. Now, again, not saying the Packers should sign any of these guys, just going to simply line them up here and get everybody's take. We got it sorted by previous average annual value first, all right? At the top of the list, Travis Kelce, previously $17.1 million, now at $10.7 million. David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns, $13.6 million, now it's at 9.9. So you see both of those tight ends, their value has gone down heading into free agency. Dallas Goedert from the Philadelphia Eagles, $10 million going in, now it's at $6 million. Taysom Hill, that name sound familiar? I can't believe he's 35 years old. That is
crazy.
With the Saints, $10 million previously, 2.1 now. So I think his better football's behind him. Tyler Higbee, 8.5 last time, or previous average annual value, 5.3 now. Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons, 25 years old, former first-round pick, $8.2 million previously, 10.8 now. That's one, Emilio, that I go, boy, you're talking about somebody you can split out wide and play wide receiver a little bit too. That's a little intriguing for me. You got Zach Ertz, 6.2 at 2.2, so obviously his value's gone down. Austin Hooper, $5 million previously, 2.4 now. Foster Moreau, $4 million previously, 2.6 now. So the best value there, in my opinion, when you look at these guys, the one that grabs my attention the most here is Kyle Pitts. Mm-hmm. That's the main one where it looks like, okay, that I think you get your the most bang for your buck. Now, will he go for $10 million average annual value? I don't know. Is that out of the Packers price range? For me, it is. It's like, okay, I can't justify spending $10 million per year on a tight end when we got to re-sign Tucker Kraft in a year or two, right? So that's the whole reason we do these exercises. What's the market truly look like? How does that list look to you before we sort by market value?
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Same pick for me would be Kyle Pitts, just in the fact of, money-wise, not terrible. If like you said, if he goes for 10, so be it. Can we afford that? We don't know. But looking down there at John FitzPatrick, 25.8, looking at Kyle Pitts, 25.2, you don't think that they're going to stray far away from kind of that age. So I feel like that knocks out, if anyone has a 3 in front of their name, I would almost kind of, move them down the list or whatever. So you'd maybe look at Foster Moreau, or Adam Troutman, something like that. But again, do you like those? What was your take on them coming out? And then, besides that, you might as well bring back FitzPatrick if you think that, he's already knows the offense. He's been in it for a year. At that point, you might as well keep going.
And I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of value in that. There really is, man. Already knowing the system, already familiar with the facility, already familiar with the coaches, all that stuff. Chris N says, I always liked Higbee myself. Higbee's a baller, I think, man. I agree with that. Jason Y says, what about our boy Mercedes? Mercedes is down there. If you guys don't know the inside joke there on Mercedes Lewis, Matt LaFleur wanted to keep Mercedes Lewis. So hopefully this answers the question for people that say, well, are we sure that Matt didn't want the youngest roster in the league? No, trust me, there's no coach in the league that says, give me all the youngest guys. Okay. That's not how it operates. However, he wanted Mercedes Lewis back so bad. He was such a fan of Mercedes Lewis. His coaching staff for Christmas one year bought him a Mercedes Lewis jersey as a joke, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So it's probably passed him by, Jason, to be honest with you. 2 years ago, I would have been on board with it. But again, it's not showing a market value, but he's going to be 42 years old. That's a no from me, although I want it to be a yes really bad, if that makes sense. So hopefully that answers his question. Market value, average annual value here, Emilio. So market value, Kyle Pitts at the top of the list here in terms of free agents. This year, $10.8 million. Travis Kelce, $10.7. David Njoku, $9.9. Isaiah Likely, $8.8. That's a guy whose value is through the roof, right? You're talking about a guy who's going to be 26 years old, previously $1 million flat, and he jumps all the way to 8.8. We'll look at the PFF grades in a second. That's a guy kind of interesting because if you get him at $8 million per, right, the first year you're probably looking at $5 or $6 million against the cap. Second year, probably blimp to $10 million, and you can move money around and make it work within the cap. That's one that's interesting if the grades, the tape were to match up. You got Chig Okonkwo. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Chig Okonkwo. With the Tennessee Titans, 26 years old. His previous was $1 million. Now it's 7.9. So he obviously is carrying quite a bit of value going into free agency. Cade Otton, 26 years old from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Same thing, 1.1 to 7.9. And then Dallas Goedert, again, $10 million to $6 million. That's where you see it start to taper off there. So the names on this list, and it's why we like to look at it from all angles, they really get your attention, is Isaiah Likely. We talked about Kyle Pitts, probably going to be priced out of your range. Isaiah Likely. And then, of course, you've got Chig Okonkwo with the Tennessee Titans. And I wouldn't hate a Cade Otton there either, man. All those guys, 25, 26, 26 years old.
Yep, that cluster right there. Under 10, above 5 is probably where you're going to get. I mean, if besides that, under 5, you might as well bring back FitzPatrick is kind of where, I'm sort of with that. And then I like those three. Isaiah Likely, you saw him as, he can stretch the field vertically. He's got hands. Chase, same thing. And Cade Otton, not a bad guy. You all with, or at least, you had Baker Mayfield with Otton. Likely you had Lamar, so you have some veteran quarterbacks working with them. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. And then again, kind of what you're getting from them. It's not like you're coming from the draft where you're just going off college tape. You've got NFL tape. You might have played against them. How do you like how they blocked against your DNs? All those different things you want to take into consideration. Yeah,
definitely. Memphis Magic, the barber. Good to see you in here, buddy. Says Likely and Tucker. Hey, I'd be on board with it. Not so cool. Says Isaiah Likely would do great if we had Kraft and Likely, ? Like, who are you going to defend? Right? And out of 12 personnel, you force them into their base package, and then you're off and running with two great
Christian outside. Who do you want next to him? Matthew Golden. I mean, that's a lot of speed, a lot of hands. You still have some physicality with Tuck there. A lot you can do.
Absolutely, man. And, if Tucker isn't completely ready by week 1, if you were to bring someone in like Isaiah Likely, guess what? You're not going to miss a beat. And then when you get Tucker back, here comes the 12 package, right? Mm-hmm. So really like it. Let's go into PFF grades real quick and kind of show where these guys are hitting at. So what I did was took the teams that were mentioned in all of these, for the majority of these teams right here. If you guys have followed the show, you've seen we've done this the entire time. So those teams, I just included their tight ends. So at the top of the list, we'll try to match up the ones that are free agents. First of all, Tucker Kraft, 78.1, the 8th highest graded tight end in the league. I thought it was lower than it should have been. He was balling out this year. You go on down, look at Kyle Pitts, 73.6. You like the way that matches up, right? Another one we talked about was Higbee a little bit there, right? 68.9. Yep. Dallas Goedert's a 66.7. Let's see if we find Likely. I don't see Likely on this list. Did I pass him up? Was he hurt or something? That's really strange that Likely didn't make the cut. What do you think?
He did get hurt a little bit.
Did he? So maybe he wasn't included because of the minimum. I said ignore the minimum here, though. Let's see. There's Kohler, Baltimore, and there's Mark Andrews. So, yeah, Isaiah Likely was actually a 56.4. That's really, really interesting. Really interesting there. So, because I felt like maybe it was last year. Yeah, last year was a 75.6, and then in 2025, he was a 56.4. So that's probably why. So 65, 65, 75 takes a dip back to 56. He did play actually trying to see the snap total here. It doesn't show me right off on this screen. It looks like probably 400, over 400, almost 500 snaps, so a significant amount of snaps. With that being said, if you were to put a lot of stock in PFF, that would steer you away from Likely a little bit, but we know it's not everything. So anybody else here grab your attention, Emilio? We'll get Jacob's take on the tight end position before we wrap up.
No, I think that's spot on, and not much else you can get out of, there's Chig down there, 59.9. It's just I hate that 27 in the red there, right? So you're also going to want to see where we at run blocking wise. That's been key. Tucker's been trying to grind and get better at that as well. So that is got to be a top 3 need, or top 3 thing you got to pay attention to in this.
Yeah. So you can see why Kyle Pitts carries that extra value, right? Like if you Travis Kelce too, listen, he's older than the Hills. I'm not interested in bringing him in. If he's going to play, he's going to play for the Chiefs. We know that. So all of these guys, man, are just really, really interesting.
Consistency wise, Higbee would be where I would look, just because you got a solid guy across the board. He made a couple big catches there in the game. So it's not like he can't play in the big games. He's been on, in the stage, NFC Championship, all that stuff. So
yeah, and he's within the Sean McVay system, which is basically Matt LaFleur's system, and $5.3 million is the AAV market value. So you're talking about a cap hit of like $3-4 million.
Age is the only hang up. But at what point do you say you got to look away from a number and you got to get a little bit older?
Absolutely. I think you're right, man. That's the one that comes to mind for me. If we were going to focus on the free agents and go, okay, let's get a cheap deal on a free agent. Now, maybe Higbee goes out there and gets $10 million, right? He may do that. This is just the market value projection going into free agency. I would totally be on board with Higbee at $5 million per. Jacob joining us now. Jacob, what do you think about the tight end position, man? Do you feel like it wouldn't hurt to maybe add a veteran in that room along with Tucker Kraft as he's coming back from the ACL, or do you like kind of what we've done already where it's Tucker and then a bunch of young guys?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have talked about this. I did not get to hear the pregame, which I usually try to do. I think Kyle Pitts, if possible, that seems like just a perfect resurgence type of player, has the unbelievable talent that we've seen in his first rookie year, and then ever since then it's kind of been booty cheeks. If he was willing to take a decent, sizable pay cut and come and do maybe like a 1-year type privet deal, I do like the idea of Musgraves. It's I haven't seen it come to fruition. I love a lot of the guys that we had with FitzPatrick, obviously, and with Sims at one time and different guys like that. I kind of agree with Emilio. Higbee to me sounds like more of a guy that's kind of been proven, seeing what he can do in and out. I think he's better too, like in the run game, the block game. Like Pitts, I don't feel like is an all-around tight end. He seems just kind of more like, again, replacing
receiving, right?
A receiving tight end. And that's kind of more like just we have those guys. I want more of like a freaking stud. I'm seeing a lot of people's in there talking about Isaiah Likely, but I don't think that that's just anything that's going to come to fruition. I don't know. I think I'm more leaning towards let's find something in the draft.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, man. And again, this is why we do these exercises, right? And with Kyle Pitts, if I had to put money on it, he's going to get significantly more than $10.8 million. I really believe that. Because again, he was an early first-round pick, and we know there's going to be multiple teams that had that same type of first-round grade on him, so they're going to overpay for that, right? And we're not in a position where obviously we want to do that because we got our tight end one in Tucker. So I'm with you guys. Higbee would be very, very interesting. So Memphis Magic, the barber, says Musgrave is good but clumsy. I think that is a very accurate description of Musgrave.
He'll catch an amazing ball, and then he looks like a giraffe that just got out of the womb. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you not know how to stand, man?
It's funny, too, because every time it happens, I go, It's a first down. I don't care. Let's just move on. We got the first down. All right. If you guys are watching this back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about this tight end free agent class here? Is there anybody else there that you would rather grab? What do you think about signing Tyler Higbee for a $5 million contract? Do you think Kyle Pitts will break the bank? Do you think Isaiah Likely was disrespected by PFF and you would like to go after him? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future content.